They joked about my cane like it was a prop. The HOA president, Raymond, laughed at the podium while the rest of the board smirked. "We can't make exceptions for everyone," he said, as if my ankle and my dignity were the same inconvenience. "Before I start, hit like, leave a comment telling me where you're watching from, and subscribe if you enjoy real homeowner stories." I had lived under that association longer than most of them had paid taxes. A bad fall 2 years earlier rewired my body and my mornings. I moved slower, leaned on a stick, planned steps, I asked politely, for a simple ramp to the community sidewalk. I brought doctor's notes, pictures, measurements. They called it unseemly and voted it down. They called my request a preservation issue and clapped. About the look, that laugh, thin and comfortable, stayed with me. I stopped asking and started collecting. I pulled the HOA bylaws from the server, the municipal code from the county site, street plans from Public Works, recorded meetings where men joked about bending rules. I found a clause obligating the HOA to maintain sidewalks to municipal standards. The ledger showed a maintenance fund untouched for years. A maintenance contract listed obligations the board ignored. Facts change how people behave. So I built a file, a neat stack, stamped municipal reports, an accessibility auditor's measurements, time-stamped photos of cracked curbs and uneven slabs, and copies of the minutes where they laughed about my petition. I sent certified letters to the city building department, the ADA coordinator, and to every homeowner. The city inspector came. He measured every slope, every rise, every uneven patch with a patience the board had never used. His report was legal geometry, non-compliant curbs, missing curb cuts, thresholds that exceeded safe rise. Citations followed. The HOA tried to stall. Raymond held emergency sessions and called my complaints petty. He hired the usual contractor to give him optimistic bids he liked to sign. When the inspector returned, he did not smile. He issued stop work orders for aesthetic projects until accessibility violations were fixed. Their pergola plans were frozen. Their fountain wiring was halted. Vendors pulled out of events. Lenders asked about liabilities. The reserve fund, once comfortable, was suddenly a ledger of obligations. I pushed further. I filed a civil complaint alleging negligence and discrimination under public accommodation rules. I collected affidavits from neighbors, mothers with strollers, an elderly veteran who could not reach the mailbox, a delivery driver with photos of near falls. The local paper ran a piece. Community criticized for ignoring disabled residents. The cameras found Raymond and his board in the fluorescent light of scrutiny. They did not look like rulers. They looked like men at accounting. The HOA scrambled. Contractors who once offered quick repairs now demanded clearances and detailed plans. The engineers' estimates tripled the cost of fixes. The county required handrails, specific slopes, tactile warning strips, and accessible ramps at every corner. Compliance meant contractors, permits, and months of work. The price tag landed in the board's lap, and humiliation landed too. Raymond, who once mocked my schedule, now signed checks and smiled for photographs while inspectors measured his handiwork. At a community meeting, he read a statement with an apology written by lawyers. He thanked me for bringing the matter to light. It was punishment, relevance without respect. He had to account for what he had ignored, explain to neighbors why their social calendar paused while paperwork flowed. There were smaller consequences. The contractor who had accepted extra payments lost his license after investigators found improper filings. The treasurer, who had funneled funds toward personal upgrades, resigned when auditors found unaccounted entries. Weekend parties were postponed. The board's bank balance showed red where pride used to sit. Repair crews arrived, and the neighborhood changed in the only way that matters. It became honest. Ramps replaced steps, curb cuts opened like invitations. Tactile strips warned the visually impaired. The path cleared. People who once ignored me learned to look out for the man with the cane. Children rode scooters without swerving onto grass. The veteran reached his mailbox without help. I do not describe an exhilaration of victory. Revenge is rarely celebratory. It is heavy work, slow administrative friction that erodes complacency. I walked those new ramps the first morning, and my cane sounded on honest pavement. Neighbors nodded, awkward and genuine. Raymond walked by, slower than before. His smile had been smoothed off by necessity. Neighbors I had ignored brought casseroles and awkward apologies. They lingered at my gate, searching for words they had once used as excuses, now learning the cost of complacency by seeing bills laid bare. When the final audit came, the ledger confirmed compliance and costs. The board reorganized. The treasurer moved away. Raymond's name remained on a thin list of resignations. There was no spectacle, only a practical rewriting of authority. They mocked my disability. They learned that mockery can be repaid not by noise or destruction, but by persistence that reaches into the paperwork of power. In the end, the neighborhood didn't lose beauty. It gained a path that let people cross it. Sometimes the cruelest justice is the one that forces men to live inside the standards they ignored. Raymond learned to trace the ramps with careful steps, and every morning when I walked, his eyes moved somewhere other than his phone. He had to live with the consequence of his indifference. I walk a little slower now. I walk at last. With certainty. Before you go, tell me in the comments, was his revenge justified? Hit like and subscribe for more stories.